right. Welcome, everybody, to our Live with the Doctors Love.Life Telehealth on Thursday. So we have an extra special guest here today that we've been so excited about to welcome. And in addition to welcoming all of you and our doctors, we want to welcome the one, the only Dr. Greger. Hello, Dr. Greger.
Hello. I'm excited to be here. I
Thank you
love all
so
the work that you're doing.
Thank you so much for joining us. And for anyone who maybe doesn't know who Dr. Greger is, Dr. Greger is a best-selling author of how many books now? 5, is it? 6?
I love how he sighs. Don't forget the pandemic book.
7.
Yeah.
No, 8. 8
books, 8 best-selling books. Today, we're going to be talking about the new book, How Not to Age, which is pretty darn amazing. But I also wanted to let people know about his website, nutritionfacts.org. So please check it out if you haven't. He gives daily updates, which are incredible. So please check that out as well. But with that, I want to just jump into things because we have 30 minutes, you guys. So we're going to try to get the most out of Dr. Greger while he's here. So Dr. Greger, I wanted to start it out talking about this book, which is amazing. And so congratulations on writing it. It's really nice.
Thank you. Premiered number 2 on the New York Times bestseller list last week.
Wow, incredible.
The number 1 yet?
I was disappointed.
We tried, I promise.
We're still proud of you, Dr. Greger.
Thank you.
That's right.
So
Been there, done that. How Not to Diet came in at number 2. So I thought this is my chance.
Number 2 is very important in lifestyle medicine.
Well, that is already with the book jokes. I love it.
And longevity.
Well, I want to start it off. We're going to open it up to some questions from the docs here and then from our community, hopefully. But I wanted to start off with one question. So you had already written How Not to Die, and you teach us every day how better ways to eat to improve our long-term health. So this book, Writing How Not to Age, I wanted to ask you personally, were there some things that you learned doing this research that you've recently changed into your own diet and lifestyle based on?
Oh, my God. I learn as much as anybody else does. This is all new information. I mean, there's a few, I had a few, aging longevity videos, but there's like 13,000 citations in this puppy. And so it was literally like, in fact, there's entire fields of science that did not exist when I graduated from medical school, like the chapter on microRNAs. It was discovered, they were discovered after it already graduated. So so it was tremendous learning experience and just so excited, so tickled to be able to kind of share that with folks. In terms of what I did in my own diet, I added papali to my daily regimen. That's this long pepper. It's a kind of part of the black pepper family. It has this piperlongumine, which acts as a senolytic compound, ridding the body of these inflammation spewing so-called zombie cells. Strawberries. I'm eating a lot more strawberries. Normally I'd be like, well, what's the best berry to add to my oatmeal or something? And, blackberries have 5 times the antioxidants of strawberries. So I choose blackberries, right? They're both delicious. But it turns out strawberries are relatively unique and have a high concentration of this compound called fisetin, which also is a senolytic compound. Wheat germ. I remember my mom used to give me wheat germ, but of course, mom was always right. So wheat germ has something called spermidine, which is an autophagy inducer. It's the most concentrated form. I encourage people to try to reach a daily minimum of 20 milligrams of spermidine a day. And so the easiest way to do that is to sprinkle some wheat germ on. So how from How Not to Die, I encourage people to eat a tablespoon of ground flax seeds every day. Well, all I do is I just mix my ground flax seeds with my wheat germ 50-50, and then just, make sure throughout the day I'm sprinkling, 2 tablespoons of that on whatever I'm eating throughout the day. Also eating more tempeh. Not that I didn't love tempeh before, but oh my God. So tempeh is the single most concentrated source on a per serving basis of spermidine. That's because it's found concentrated not only in soybeans, but also in fungi. So number 2 source is white button mushrooms. You get both the soy and the mushroom essentially by eating tempeh. And I started eating more mushrooms in general because not only do they have the spermidine, they have something called ergothioneine, this purported longevity vitamin, really only concentrated one source in the fungi kingdom. And so if you're not eating mushrooms, you're not going to get it. So if there was a daily baker's dozen, if I had to add a 13th to the list, it would definitely be eating mushrooms on a daily basis.
Wow, amazing. That's super informative already. So much information. Well, I could ask a bunch more questions, but let's open it up to the docs. I know some of you guys have some burning questions for Dr. Greger, so this is your opportunity.
Whip it out.
So I had a question, if you don't mind. I have a couple of questions, but I'll start with just one. There's a lot of information being reported recently about infrared saunas and ice baths and things like that for longevity. Did you find anything on research on that?
That is such a fantastic question. That's a good question. Why I didn't cover it. I remember. I did a series of videos in my kind of lead detox section on kind of like sauna, steam bath kind of things for heavy metal detoxification. And I was surprised at how little research there was out there. And I think I just had this sense that the research just didn't exist. And of course, there's no research, there's nothing to talk about. But I've gotten that question more than once. And so I was like, oh, let me look it up. And I looked it up and oh my God, there's this tremendous literature out there on both cold and heat. And most relatively new. There's always been kind of anecdotal stuff, but in terms of randomized controlled trials, and so it's super exciting. So I've added that to my topics list for my next batch of videos. So while it's not found in the book proper, I will be doing videos about it and don't actually know which direction. Is it all like total hokum or is there something amazing that we should all be doing? Let's find out.
Excellent. That's awesome. Kim, take it away with your next question.
Oh, I was going to let some other people ask. So, but I have more later.
Jeff.
I've got one, Dr. Greger. I have found that sometimes scientific articles are not the most riveting to read. But
what? This is heresy.
I didn't say they weren't important. I just said, it's not often what I wake up hoping to be the first thing that I do in a day. But
summer beach reading, baby. Come on.
Yeah.
The nightcap.
Next time I won't bring a Cosmo. I'll just bring some more JAMA. But my question: you and your team researched just thousands of articles, and just the ones that you included were what did you say, like 13,000 this time?
13,000. Yes, it was tens of thousands.
Give us just a peek in how that happens, because I'm assuming your team helps funnel some towards you. You're not just trying to look up 20,000 on your own and find 13,000. Can you give us kind of a behind the scenes look at that?
Yeah, so we have 14 full-time staff. In fact, we just brought on 2 new nutrition PhDs. And we have about 100 active volunteers at any one time. And some of them work on, logistics, translation, things like that. But, a lot of them are part of the research process. It's really writing the books, doing the videos. That doesn't take any time at all. It's the research that goes into the videos. That 3-minute video or whatever may have taken me 3 days, like 3 days of my life, my precious life, just to make the one stupid 3-minute video. Just because I'm just so deathly afraid of missing something. Because I often find myself, I'm researching, I'm immersed myself in some topic, and then I run across some article that completely 180 changes my opinion. And so I was going in thinking I'd be recommending some supplement and come out recommending against some supplement. And I keep thinking what keeps me up at night is thinking, what if I hadn't seen that article, right? What if I just happened to miss it somehow? And so that's why, it's really important for me to really put everything in context for a full literature review. And so that's what the team helps with. It's just like you can do both proactive, retroactive. So basically, you can go through all the the primary sources from whatever you're looking at, and you can use something like the free version would be something like Google Scholar, or what we do is actually pay to access the Web of Science database, where you can look up every article that's ever cited a particular article. So some article comes out with some crazy side effect or crazy benefit. You want to know, like, who's commented on this? What has been kind of the follow-up, something that may not just pop up in PubMed. Maybe it's in some kind of obscure field that just isn't indexed in biomedicine. And so going in both directions, looking at everything they cited, everything else in context on the topic, and everything that cited that, you can see how it just is a very time-consuming process and requires lots of busy hands.
That's great. Thank you for explaining that. Karen wrote, great question, Jeff. Thanks. I think a lot of us are wondering how you can get through that much research in order to come up with that. So,
and I don't sleep a lot. Do as I say, not as I do.
I was going to say, isn't that a longevity thing?
Well, I was actually very pleasantly surprised to see that the role of sleep and longevity is surprisingly controversial. So
interesting.
Maybe I have an out.
It
is not controversial in terms of health span. To be healthy, to maintain one's immune function, maintain one's endothelial function, absolutely, we need to get sufficient sleep. But in terms of longevity, it's actually a very difficult question to answer. All sorts of crazy confounding factors in both directions. Anyway, I dived really deep into that in the book, but at least it wasn't just like this total slam dunk, chopping 8 years off my life, whatever. Like, so yeah.
That's really interesting. We'll have to do a follow-up on that and dive into the research a little more. Colin, you're up next, but I want to address some of these comments real quick. Chris says, I work in media production and can completely confirm it can easily take 3 days to make a 3-minute video. And Ariane, I hope I said that right, says, we love the videos. Thank you. So
you are so welcome, Ariane.
Community. Thanks for that, you guys. And Colin, take it away with your questions.
Yeah, so Dr. Guerrero, it's good to see you again. I saw you at ACLM. You're, wearing your brilliant broccoli shirt, as you always do. I serve on the board, and I really am grateful for all the work that you've done and have contributed for ACLM. My question to you is that I do a lot of content creation myself, so I definitely appreciate the fact that it does, and I can confirm that it does, take that much time for good, content. The work that we do for lifestyle medicine, is very, very hard, as to kind of penetrate mainstream media, right? And really getting to the audience at large, right? And you've successfully have done that over the years, you and your team, and just your own style and finesse and creativity. My question to you is, what do you think needs to happen? If I gave you like a magic wand, right? What do you think needs to happen in order to turn the tides around in terms of what the nation, is facing? And over time, it doesn't seem like it's slowing down anytime soon. Like, what do you think needs to happen that turns the needle and impacts it the most from your lens? Is it like legislation? Is it, what I'm saying? Like, what needs to happen from your point of view? You
mean it's not Ozempic?
It seems like it's Ozempic, right?
Well, if we had a really magic wand, we'd go straight to the end, but if we had kind of just a surrogate marker in the middle magic wand, it's the most exciting things happening that I see happening, and you probably are more in the trenches in terms of some of the policy stuff, are this kind of choice architecture, these default plant-based options. So like what we saw, I was just in New York City, where Mayor Adams has instituted every single one of the 11 public health hospitals by default, whole food plant-based lunches and dinners. And most patients are sticking with the defaults. That's changing millions of meals every year. And think about that role modeling power. I mean, healthy food in a hospital, like what a concept. And it's really just about making the healthy option the easy option, the healthy option, the default option. We're not taking away anyone's chances. It's your body, your choice. You want to do whatever you want, but you're going to have to go smoke outside, basically. I mean, it's just these little things. And so, I think that can be exploited in terms of kind of institutional change. It's like, why aren't we feeding our school children healthier food, right? Why aren't we feeding our government workers healthier food, our military healthier food, our prisoners healthier food? And these are all kind of public capacities. We don't need to wrestle some corporation to the ground and get their shareholders to all of a sudden value health over money. It's like, well, no, we have a say in the public process. And it's like, we could be, sending federal dollars one way or another in terms of what we're researching, what they're putting into practice. And that could kind of role model for the rest of society. So much of, the recidivism we see in people that start eating healthier, then go back to eating the standard American diet. It's not that they didn't feel good, didn't like the food. Like, the number one reason are these social pressures. Food is so interwoven with our social relationships, our family, our work. It's just kind of hard to be kind of the odd person out. That's what kind of drags people back into the mud. But the more society changes, the easier it is to eat healthy. The more it just becomes mainstream, then it'll have this really cumulative, snowball effect, where all those in the middle who, look, no one wants to be unhealthy. Most people have a general understanding of what's healthy eating. They just find it difficult. But once it's easy, once it's accessible, it's affordable, once everybody else is doing it, get that kind of vast middle to change. And of course, there'll still be the people right now. I think we still have 14% of people smoking in this country. But it went from essentially almost nobody at the beginning of the last century smoking to a peak in 1964, 4,000 cigarettes per capita, half a pack a day, the average man and woman. And it's just because everybody smoked. I mean, that's just, most doctors smoked. It was just normal, natural to smoke. I mean, it's just like what you did. And so people just kind of went along with it. What happened in 1964, of course, the first Surgeon General's report against smoking came out, just acknowledging that there are 7,000 studies implicating smoking in lung cancer and other maladies. And since then, tobacco rates have come tumbling down, and see these gorgeous drop in lung cancer rates. One of the most, greatest public health victories of all time. And so it's really it's that big piece in the middle of just people going about their regular day. This is not something they're passionate about. They want to eat healthy, but they're not going to go too far out of their way. And if it was easy, then people would do it. If it was delicious, people would just do it. And so, I mean, it's really just this tipping point. It seems like, well, we're only making a little progress every year, but we'll finally get to that point. And so everything we can do to kind of nudge this institutional change, rather than just kind of person by person, but if we just, changing, what a hospital sells in their cafeteria, I mean, all of a sudden it's just like thousands of meals, like, a day can just change. And that's the kind of sights I think we have to kind of set for.
Awesome. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. That's great. And so everyone out there listening, we all got to get to work on this, right? It's team effort for everyone. Thank you. Susanna, take it away.
Hi. Yes. Well, thank you so much for the incredible work you do and for making it entertaining and accessible. This is the best thing ever. And I'm going to ask you the dreaded protein question, because I feel like we have to ask the protein question. And of course, you've got this whole after 65, we need more protein, but then we've got these IGF and how this anyway, could you speak to, in your opinion, based on maybe grams per kilogram per day, what do you think? How do we not die and not age and not diet and do all this with in your mind, what is the realm of protein that we should be eating in a day based on our age?
Anybody who doesn't know how to get enough protein on a plant-based diet doesn't know beans. Yeah. But yeah, no, your question was about aging. When it comes to protein aging, less may be more. Reducing protein intake, meaning restricting protein intake down to recommended levels, which is 0.8 grams per healthy kilogram body weight, is the only thing I could find in my research that can block all 11 aging pathways, boosting NAD, improving immunity, decreasing oxidative stress, inflammation, insulin resistance, as well as the cancer-promoting growth hormone IGF-1 that you mentioned. Surprisingly, there's no benefit to adding extra protein to the diets of older men and women in terms of muscle mass, muscle strength, physical performance. Instead, the excess protein most Americans get causes a drop in the pro-longevity hormone FGF21, a drop in testosterone, a worsening of the age-accelerating hormone mTOR. So we should strive to stick to the recommended level, 0.8 grams per healthy kilogram body weight. That's 0.36 grams per pound. Comes out to be about 45 grams a day for the average height woman, 55 grams a day for average height man. And in terms of age 65, I think it's reasonable to, instead of restricting down to 0.8, restricting down to 1.0 after the age of 65. That's still less than what most Americans get. So it's all just instead of like we need more protein when we age, it's actually we just need to restrict less.
Interesting. And if we're all eating more tempeh, you guys, it's going to be easy for us all to get there. We have some protein questions here related to what Dr. Greger just answered. And then Kim, I'm going to send you to the next because I think yours is
mine is the same. Mine is, without me doing supplements or anything like that, because I exercise, I eat a lot, I get like almost 1.7 grams per kilogram of protein without even trying beans.
Jesus.
I know it's beans and lentils and tofu and tempeh and
you eat too much, Kim. He's saying it.
No, I know. So I need to cut down, is what you're telling me.
Well, it turns out that most or all of the benefits of protein restriction actually is arising from the restriction of particular amino acids, notably methionine, cysteine, some of the branch chains. And so you can even keep your protein intake the same, but just switch from animal sources to plant sources like bean. So you can basically methionine restrict even without changing protein by just switching to plant sources. So they're at a certain level, you can actually get it with enough with a high enough protein intake. Now this is with supplement like concentrated protein powders. You give people enough protein powder, whether it's whey or pea, and you can get a bump in IGF-1. Only when you are at more moderate levels of intake do you actually see a difference between animal protein and plant protein. So as long as you are not adding protein powders to your day, and you are sticking to whole food plant-based sources, it's not something I'm worried about.
So along those same lines, we have some questions here that people are saying they're eating 3 half cups servings of beans a day, and it's putting their protein higher than the recommended amount. So they want to know what you think of that.
Yeah, again, beans are the lowest methionine concentrated source of protein in the human diet. And so the recommendation, this book is not written for the whole food plant-based community, right? This book, it would be a very different book, right? This book is written for people that have never eaten a bean in their life, right? Other than jelly beans. And so that's really where so all these studies showing protein restriction have these dramatic metabolic benefits within days and weeks. These are people eating the standard American diet. And so when they're cutting protein, guess what they're cutting out, right? They're cutting out mostly animal protein. So for the general public, a protein restriction message it makes a lot of sense. But but that's why I go into the methionine restriction, where it really is about switch. It really is not the protein itself, but these particular amino acids, which just by switching to plant sources, we can drop down to where we want them to be. And so no supplemental protein powders for anyone, and concentrating on whole food plant-based sources. However, I do talk about really interesting body of data that I was not aware of, about impaired wound healing among vegans. And these vegans were getting sufficient protein, 0.8 grams per healthy kilogram body weight, but they were getting insufficient protein for wound healing, right? I mean, so those protein requirements are not for burn victims. Those protein requirements are for just normal, active, healthy individuals. If you are undergoing surgery, if you have an illness, right, our body has to churn out massive amounts of antibodies. So if you are recovering from illness, if you are, even, during kind of respiratory infection season, if you, know that you're getting an operation, if you're recovering from a tattoo, anytime your body needs to heal, you may need more than that recommended minimum protein. And so, you can randomize people with decubitus ulcers, these pressure ulcers, to increase protein intake and above recommended levels, and you can actually get improved wound healing. So that's something important to recognize for people, who aren't just kind of normal, healthy populations.
Excellent. That's super helpful. And I just want to remind everyone listening out there to remember to individualize it a little bit. So he's giving us general recommendations based on the data, but if you're not absorbing your protein, or if you have another medical condition, you may need more or less. And so you want to work.
That's why what everybody needs is a plant-based physician. Where are we going to find a plant-based physician? What if you're in a place, in a city that doesn't have any plant-based? I mean, that's what we need out there, is access. And so that's why what you're doing is so fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Yeah, it is. It's super important to work with someone. So we're all listening to these guidelines and working on it to improve our own health so we all age well, but we do have to individualize it a little bit from here. So anyone else with any questions? Because Dr. Greger has 3 minutes left and then he's going to leave us. So we want to make sure to finish on time. So any other questions? Kim, did you have one more burning question that you wanted to ask, or anyone else that didn't get to ask any?
I can go.
Perfect.
Can you hear me?
Go for
I can
it.
hear you loud and clear.
Hi, Dr. Greger. Here I am in New Zealand, the camper, asking you a question. We have a lot of our, and thank you for everything you're doing. We have a lot of patients that are like me, female, older. They tend to be very specific into what they do into their plant-based diet. What would you recommend to these older women in order to not being so specific, but encourage them to continue in such an amazing lifestyle related to plant-based? What have you found anything special that you would recommend for older patients?
So for older women, my preserving your hormones chapter in the book, where I really talk about, how powerful, plant-based eating, in particular foods like soy foods, can benefit, vasomotor symptoms of menopause, and all sorts of things you can do for, vulvovaginal atrophy, and a lot of these, and hair loss, a lot of things that are affecting kind of postmenopausal women. And so I think that would be kind of a useful chapter to send them to. And you will be happy to know, in your area of the world, that I am putting together an Australasia speaking tour, which will be March, April 2025.
Wow, very cool. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, we are in the last minute, so I want to appreciate your time. I want to put this up here again in case anyone is not on nutritionfacts.org. Please check it out. It's phenomenal information there. So, Dr. Greger, can you share with us some lasting words of wisdom as we're all trying to age well and healthy, and what else do you have for us?
I just want to share the good news that we have tremendous power over our health, destiny, and longevity. The vast majority of premature death and disability is preventable with a healthy enough plant-based diet and lifestyle. And you are all helping to make it possible for people. All the information in the world is useless unless there are people in the trenches actually putting it to the test. So thank you so much for all you do.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Greger. And thank you everyone for joining us today. We're going to wind this down. And if there's any burning questions, maybe we can take it in the next minute or two, and then we're going to wind this down. So anyone else? Kim, did you have anything lasting things you wanted to say that you didn't get to, or?
No, but I could answer. But there was one question about what if my protein powder comes from Dr. Furman, which I thought was interesting. And
do you want to take that?
Say again?
You said, do you want to address that, Kim?
Well, I was going to ask Chris why you think you need protein powder, and why you're taking that, because that's interesting. I mean, honestly, when I did because I was trying to check on Chronometer what my level of protein was, just to see for patients, and I was shocked at how high it was without any protein powder. So it'd be interesting to see what other people have to say about that too.
I agree with you, Chris, or Kim, I'm sorry, that you have to know what you're getting first in order to know if you need more, and take into your individual circumstances into account.
Agree. I'll say that I tend to use it because I'm different than Kim. I have difficulty to keep up with the food, and I exercise a lot. So that's why I was using it. So
interesting.
Yeah, I would say the same as Elizabeth, that we are all individuals. So some people aren't eating very much, aren't getting the nutrition. So again, we need to look at each person. But general comments is try to get it from the food and look at what you're eating. So that's an awesome recommendation. But for those who aren't able to do it, there's other things that they can do. So. All right, you guys. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. It's awesome to have you here. I learned a lot already just having Dr. Greger here for 30 minutes. So I hope you guys did too and enjoyed it as much as we did. We appreciate you spending the time with us. Want to take this minute to wish everyone a wonderful holiday season. And we will see you in the new year. We're going to be back January 4th, Thursday, with Robbie Barbero from Mastering Diabetes. So talking more about diabetes and reversing insulin sensitivity. Insulin resistance. So hope to see you guys then. Happy holidays, everyone. And thanks to the docs. Do you guys have any lasting words you guys want to share after that webinar?
The book is amazing, as is Dr. Greger and nutritionfacts.org. It is really tough to read because it's got small print. So if you're going to get it, get a big magnifying glass and a light, or listen to it. Yeah, so it's a great book. And the only other thing I had was he mentioned about smoothies and having bananas in smoothies, but you can watch his video on that, because bananas and blueberries together, it takes down some of the absorption of the good parts of the blueberries, but still eat plant-based and enjoy and have a wonderful holiday season too.
Yep.
Thanks, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.
Holidays.